trying to get Trisha to understand is that that whole privacy thing that she has going on doesn't work for our relationship anymore. Like if I ask her a question to her is an accusation. And I'm like, no, an accusation is an accusation. An accusation is me telling you, you did this. Me asking you a question is trying to figure out what actually went on. And it's not me, I can't tell you what you did if I don't know what you did. You gotta tell.
It's almost hard to believe how fast things can fall apart when nobody is really paying attention. One moment, everything looks calm on the surface, and the next, it feels like the truth has been hiding in plain sight the entire time. That's exactly what happened with Ken and Trish. For weeks, people thought they were just going through a rough patch like any other couple. Nothing too serious, nothing out of the ordinary. But then, almost overnight, everything changed. The whispers turned into full-blown conversations. The conversations turned into rumors, and before anyone could catch their breath, the entire situation exploded into one of the most talked about breakups people have seen in a long time. And right in the middle of all that noise, one name kept coming up again and again: Martell Holt. At first, he stayed quiet. He let the internet talk. He let people come to their own conclusions. But now, he's finally speaking out. And what he's saying doesn't just add to the story, it flips it in a way nobody expected. Because according to him, what people think happened isn't what really happened at all. And once you hear his side, you start to realize this situation might be deeper, more emotional, and more complicated than anyone ever imagined.
I'm telling you that it's not him. I'm telling you it's you.
No, it's you.
You can't make it up.
Actually,
you don't
no,
listen.
No,
and you give them and you give the people outside of our house more respect than you give me. At the end of that,
I do. You crazy?
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Here's the problem. You don't get to. Why would I care about them?
Because you.
Do I talk about Marquez? When do I talk about Marquez outside of the 6 times we have the conversations about?
Yes, we do. Both of them live rent-free in this goddamn house.
Ken and Trish weren't always surrounded by drama. In fact, that's what made their relationship stand out in the first place. While other couples seem to constantly find themselves in arguments, scandals, and messy situations, they appeared steady, grounded, almost untouched by the chaos around them. People admired that. They weren't loud. They didn't chase attention. They didn't seem interested in putting their personal issues on display. Instead, they gave off this quiet confidence that made it look like they had everything figured out, like they had somehow cracked the code to making a relationship work in a world where everything else seemed to fall apart. But what people saw wasn't the full picture. Behind closed doors, things were slowly changing. It didn't happen all at once. There wasn't one big argument or one dramatic moment that set everything off. It was quieter than that, subtle, almost invisible at first. Their conversations started to feel different, less open, less natural. What used to flow easily between them started to feel forced. They were still talking, but they weren't really connecting.
What I'm okay with is you trying to make it seem like I have issue with men that no, it's the issue is with you. How you talking to me? You didn't talk. You don't do that when you on. You don't do that when you're around nobody else. You don't care about me either. Why would you do? Why would you go harder on somebody you care about than somebody you don't care about? That absolutely makes no sense.
Because I don't have no.
That makes no sense. You're supposed to be more subtle and more open to communication with me.
Because it's frustrating me that you keep asking me. That's
it's not keep asking. I only ask you when the situation and you lie.
Trish, who had always been expressive and warm, began to pull back, not in a way that was obvious to everyone, but enough for the people closest to her to notice. She smiled less, she shared less, and when she did speak, it felt like she was holding something back.
And one of the things that continuously is bothering me, that I stoop low in my own conscience to call someone, a woman, a peasant. So I'm gonna retract that. I'm gonna take that back. Shame on me for doing such a thing.
Ken, on the other hand, started to drift in his own way. He became more distant, more distracted. It wasn't that he didn't care, it's that he didn't seem to know how to fix what was happening between them. And that's where the real problem started. They were both feeling the same tension, but neither of them knew how to talk about it. So instead of addressing it head on, they did what a lot of people do. They tried to keep things looking normal. They showed up together, they smiled in public, they kept the image alive. But inside, the gap between them was growing. And here's the part that makes everything even more complicated. They both felt alone, even while standing right next to each other. Trish felt like she was carrying the emotional weight of the relationship by herself, like she was trying to hold on to something that was slowly slipping through her fingers. Ken felt like he was being pushed out of a space he didn't even realize he was losing, like no matter what he did, it wasn't enough, or maybe it was already too late.
View all women as queens. I really do. You know, sometimes in relationships, things don't go as planned.
That kind of emotional disconnect doesn't just go away on its own. It builds, and eventually it breaks. But here's the twist nobody expected. This situation didn't explode because of a fight. It didn't fall apart because of one mistake. It unraveled because of something much quieter, something people often overlook: silence. While everything was falling apart behind the scenes, there was one decision that would end up changing everything. Trish reached out, not to start drama, not to cross any lines, but because she needed someone to talk to, someone who might understand what she was going through. And that someone was Martell. Now, from the outside, that already sounds like trouble. People hear that and immediately start connecting dots. But according to Martell, the reality was very different from what people assumed. He says their conversations weren't inappropriate. They weren't secretive in a way that suggested anything more. They were honest, simple, focused on what Trish was dealing with emotionally. He listened. That's what he claims he did most of the time. Just listened. And for Trish, that mattered, because at that point, she felt like she didn't have that kind of connection at home anymore. But here's where everything starts to shift. Timing. Ken was already feeling insecure. He already sensed that something was off. He didn't fully understand what was happening, but he could feel it, that quiet distance, that emotional gap. So when he found out that Trish had been talking to Martell, it didn't feel harmless. It felt threatening, not because of what was actually happening, but because of what it represented. To him, it looked like she was turning to someone else instead of him. And once that thought entered his mind, everything changed. What could have been a calm conversation turned into tension. That tension turned into suspicion, and that suspicion quickly turned into conflict. But here's where things get even more complicated. Martell says he never wanted to be part of their situation. In fact, once he realized things were getting messy, he tried to step back. He didn't want his name tied to something that could damage people's lives. But by then, it was too late. People had already started talking, and once rumors start spreading, it becomes almost impossible to control the narrative. Small details were exaggerated, simple interactions were turned into something much bigger, and suddenly the story wasn't about a struggling marriage anymore, it was about betrayal. Trish found herself in a position where everything she did was being questioned, her intentions, her choices, even her honesty. And what hurt the most wasn't the public reaction, it was the feeling that Ken didn't fully trust her anymore. That's the kind of pain that doesn't go away easily, because once trust starts to crack, it changes everything. For Ken, the situation felt like confirmation of his worst fears. He already felt distant, already felt like he was losing his connection with her. And now, in his mind, there was a reason for it, even if that reason wasn't entirely accurate. And instead of slowing down and trying to understand each other, they both reacted from a place of hurt. Words were said that couldn't be taken back. Feelings were expressed in ways that only made things worse. And just like that, the relationship that once seemed so stable began to collapse. But here's the part that truly shocked people when Martell finally spoke out. He revealed something that completely changes how this situation looks. According to him, Ken had actually reached out to him first, weeks before everything blew up. Ken had asked for advice. He wanted to understand how to reconnect with Trish. He wanted to fix things before they got worse. He was trying, in his own way. And Martell says he respected that. He kept it private. He didn't think anything of it beyond one man asking another for perspective. But when Trish reached out later, Ken didn't see it the same way. He didn't see it as similar situation. He saw it as something different, something threatening. And that's where the misunderstanding grew into something much bigger than it needed to be. Because at the core of all this, it wasn't about betrayal. It was about miscommunication. Two people feeling the same pain, but expressing it in completely different ways. And unfortunately, by the time they realized how far things had gone, it was already too late to fix.
The breakup didn't happen in one moment. It was the result of everything that had been building for a long time. And when it finally ended, it didn't feel explosive. It felt heavy, like something that had been slowly fading finally reached its end. Trish stepped away, choosing distance and healing. She needed space to process everything that had happened. Ken went quiet, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't know what to say anymore. Sometimes silence isn't about pride. Sometimes it's about not having the words. And Martell, he found himself carrying a story that wasn't fully his to carry, being blamed for something that was already broken before he ever got involved. The emotional impact of all this runs deeper than people realize. For Trish, it's not just about losing a relationship. It's about losing something she believed in, something she fought for, and realizing that despite all her efforts, it still slipped away. That kind of realization stays with you. For Ken, it's about facing the possibility that things could have been different, that maybe if the conversations had happened sooner, if the emotions had been expressed more clearly, the outcome might not have been the same. And that kind of what if can be hard to carry. As for Martell, his biggest challenge has been dealing with perception. Because once people decide what they believe, it's hard to change that, even when the truth is more complicated, even when the story isn't as simple as people want it to be. And that's what makes this situation so powerful. It's not just about a breakup. It's about how easily things can be misunderstood, how quickly assumptions can turn into facts in people's minds, and how sometimes the real story is much quieter than the one being told. In the end, this isn't a story about villains or heroes. It's about people. People who tried, people who struggled, people who didn't always get it right, but felt everything deeply. And maybe that's the biggest lesson in all of this. Relationships don't usually fall apart because of one big moment. They fall apart because of all the small moments that go unspoken, the conversations that never happen, the feelings that stay buried, the distance that grows without anyone noticing until it's too late. Martell breaking his silence didn't just clear his name, it revealed something deeper. That sometimes the person standing in the middle of the story isn't the cause of the damage. They're just the one closest when everything finally falls apart. And now, as everything settles, one question remains. Was this breakup really about what people thought it was? Or was it about something much more human, something much more real that had been building long before anyone was watching? That's the part people are still trying to figure out. And honestly, it might take a long time before the full truth truly sinks in.